Welcome to Good Screenwriting. I'm Trevor Meyer, and today I wanted to talk about dialogue. I was watching a show called Smallville recently, and for those of you who don't know, this is a show about Superman's early years. It starts out with him as a freshman in high school, and I think it goes till he's about 25 in season 10, and then it jumps forward 7 years, so he's actually 32 by the time the show ends. So I watched every single episode of this show when it was on the air because he was in high school when I was in high school, and it was nice to have a role model to look up to who was better than I was, honestly. He was a superhero. He saved people. He had secret powers that I wish I had as a high school student, all right? And when I was in high school, he was in high school. When I was in college, he was in college. When I got a job, he got a job. So we were on the same page. Me and Superman were on the same page. We were in sync, if you will. However, there was one time in Smallville's great history where I wavered as a fan. Yes, I'm almost ashamed to admit it. But Season 7 is the lowest rated season of the show. I've noticed that with a lot of shows, Season 7s are usually pretty rough. Whether it's Dexter or Supernatural, Smallville, Season 7s usually don't do well. I don't know why. True Blood, Season 7, I think that was not good too. I didn't watch that show, but, they tend to waver somewhere around Season 7. I don't know why. It's just an unlucky number when it comes to TV. So, Season 7, I can tell when I'm watching it that it's rough. It's rough. Even now, so many years later, since it's been on the air, I'm rewatching it, and Season 7 is by far the worst season so far. So, this is not exclusively the reason why, but there was one scene that I was watching, and the dialogue in it was so ridiculous, I had to do a video about it to illustrate to you exactly how not to write dialogue, okay? So, the context of this scene, again, you don't need to know the characters, but if you're familiar with Lois Lane, star reporter, eventual love interest to Superman, she works at the Daily Planet, and her editor is not Perry White. Her editor currently is Grant Gabriel, who turns out to be Lex Luthor's cloned infant brother, whatever. It's confusing. But her cousin, Chloe Sullivan, also works at the Daily Planet, and they're both reporters, and they have this sort of competitive edge to them, a little bit of cousin rivalry, if you will. So, Chloe is very upset because she just found out that Lois is sleeping with the editor, Grant Gabriel. So, this is about the confrontation between Chloe and Lois. So I'm just going to start playing this scene, and this is for education purposes, so it should fall under fair use. So I apologize for any claims of copyright infringement, but again, this is for educational use. I'm just trying to make a point here. All right, let's take a look.
Hey, cuz, what's the latest headline?
Busy writing story.
Looks like someone woke up on the right side of the bed this morning.
Okay, so not a bad line. It's a play on a cliche, which is looks like somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Lois is a little bit more clever than that, so she says, looks like someone woke up on the right side of the bed in a sarcastic way. So that's okay. I'll go with that one.
At least I woke up in my own bed.
What's that supposed to mean?
At least I woke up in my own bed. Again, Chloe's clever, so I believe that she would have a response like that. Why not? Sure. Of course she can be that smart. And a few clever lines like that are believable, but as we go on, it starts to get more and more ridiculous.
I told you I was working on a story.
A story about a reporter and her editor getting an exclusive between the sheets?
Okay. Getting an exclusive between the sheets. I can actually believe that Chloe was sitting there practicing this conversation while she was fuming at her desk. So I believe that she would spew a line like that to Lois, having prepared it ahead of time.
Look, Chloe, I know you're impulsive, Lo, but come on. It wasn't an impulse. It's not like I did a double gainer blindly off a cliff.
Maybe not.
All right. Now she just did a diving metaphor. Lois says, it's not like I did a double gainer off a cliff or something like that. And it's like, okay, now that's a little bit too clever, I feel like, to make up in the moment, like to just throw out some complicated metaphor to explain the situation. But Chloe's response is even worse.
But don't be surprised if you pancake faster than you think. I mean,
Don't be surprised if you pancake faster than you think. That response was just too quick. Lois came up with an overly complicated metaphor to explain her impulsive behavior, and Chloe responds with another metaphor, pancaking at the bottom when you jump off a cliff because you're swan diving. I don't know.
Of all the people in the world, you had to end up with your editor. Okay, so I strayed into the minefield of misguided romance again.
Okay, so I strayed into the minefield of misguided romance again. Again, we're mixing our metaphors like crazy here. It's like every line has to be super clever, and there's no possible way that anyone in reality would have a conversation like this using this kind of language.
But I swear, Chloe, it had nothing to do with me getting the job or getting ahead. You don't believe me, do you?
I do believe you. The problem is, will anyone else, Lois? Gossip spreads faster than a bad rash.
Gossip spreads faster than a bad rash. You remember that scene in Star Trek Into Darkness where Dr. Bones McCoy is making so many metaphor, jokes or whatever, that it's starting to get annoying, and even Captain Kirk is like, and enough with the metaphors, that's an order. This is like that, except without the hand wave, without the little lampshade moment to point it out. This dialogue really is that bad.
Sooner or later, people are going to start scratching.
Oh, yes, it's a rash, and sooner or later, people are going to start scratching. It's like, how much time did these two have to prepare for this conversation to be so clever in their mixed metaphors?
Assuming one thing, Lois Lane jump-started her career on her managing editor's die-hard battery.
Lois Lane jump-started her career on her managing editor's die-hard battery. Again, they're all over the place with this imagery. I don't understand what they were thinking. Like, is this like a battle of wits between the most clever puns that these two ace reporters can throw at each other? I don't know. It's just mind-bogglingly stupid, but we're not done yet.
Let them think what they want. I am not going to let water cooler chit-chat splash cold water on my previously non-existent personal life.
I am not going to let water cooler chit-chat spill water all over my non-existent... I can't even... nobody would talk like that in a normal conversation. I can't even repeat it back. It's so insane. I can't imagine how much rehearsal had to be done to get these lines of dialogue out of their mouths.
Fine, you're a big girl, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to be taken seriously as a reporter, you have to break this off before it breaks your career.
And they had to throw one more in there as a last little stinger. Break this off before it breaks your career. Which, even, at least that one's not too complicated. It's something that someone would say, I guess, in that situation. All right, so what's the moral of this story? Look, I understand that you want to write something original. You want to write creative dialogue that's never been spoken before in any movie or TV show, and you want to kind of make your mark. You want to show off how clever you are as a writer. However, I think it's more important to capture the truth of how people talk in real life. I've said this before in my book, Screenwriting, A Screenwriter's Guide to Mastering Storycraft and Writing a Successful Screenplay, that you don't need to be memorable. You don't need to be clever. Just write the way real people talk. Don't talk in circles. Don't have your characters just waste time with mindless chit-chat. Move the plot forward at all times, but make it easy to say. Make it reasonable that this kind of dialogue would actually come out of a person's mouth in a normal conversation. Because if you imagine this kind of scene happening in real life, these people having this conversation, you can just imagine you spew a line like that and somebody's like, yeah, well, you're stupid. At a certain point, you can't keep that up. It's almost like they're having a rap battle or something like that. They're, one-upping each other with these crazy mixed metaphors. And I just imagine if that happened in real life, one of them would be like, I ran out of cool things to say. I'm sorry. You suck. It's just like you can't keep that kind of rhythm up in real life. Now, I've been watching another show, Scandal, and in Scandal, the dialogue's very original and it's very fast paced and they're very fast talkers. But I buy that they're able to keep up with each other with their real fast talking, expert way of dealing with things, because they are experts. They are good at what they do. They're good at their job. They all know each other very well. They're a close-knit group. I believe that they can keep up that fast-talking banter because they're not throwing out these mixed metaphors and like weird, sarcastic phrases that don't make any sense. So if you happen to have written any kind of dialogue that resembles what you've just seen here, please go back and rewrite it, taking into account what I've just said here. I appreciate it, and I'm sure your audience will appreciate it because that kind of dialogue is absolutely ridiculous and unrealistic. What do you think about this scene? What do you think about the dialogue? Leave your comments in the section below. This is Good Screenwriting, and I'm Trevor Meyer. See you next time.